All right, welcome, welcome. If you are new here, I am so glad that you came to join us. I hope you find this to be a really good use of your time. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love seeing everybody's face here and just energetic to get some education and just grow in their role. If you're watching on YouTube, go to the description and grab the handout for this session so you can follow along. And Beth, is there a handout today?
Yes, there is.
All right, perfect. And if this kind of legal technology is helpful, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell in YouTube for more videos on legal technology talk. All right, so I'll grab the handout and paste that, Beth, while you
Perfect. Thank you.
start. Possibly. There we go. Okay.
Okay. So here we go, everyone. Today we're going to talk about um, demystifying that transitioning into auto scheduling and allowing people to schedule. And this is kind of scary for some people, and they're not really sure where to go with it. So let's try to work on demystifying that a little bit. Um, so this really is the end of this scheduling chase, talking about ending that. So the goal is simple: to reduce administrative friction and capture leads at the absolute peak of their interest, making it as easy as possible to get them in the door. To do that, we're leveraging Lawmatics to act as a 24-hour gatekeeper to our calendars. But this just isn't about software. It's about making sure that a client's ready to say yes. We're ready to take that meeting without 3 days of back and forth emails or them needing to call you. Um, Sorry, I lost my thing here for 1 second.
And Beth, I'm sorry, I don't see the handout, just so you know.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Well, that's interesting because where did it go?
I'll pause for a sec.
Oh. Okay, we want to make sure that when the client's ready to say yes, we're ready to take that meeting without, your 3 days of back and forth emails or you needing to call them, they needing to get back to you, all of that. If they make the decision in their bathroom and their phone's handy, they can book from their toilet. I mean, honestly, there's no need to risk walking out of the bathroom to make a call and forgetting what they're doing. And we know people do that. Maybe some of us. And if they decide at 11:30 at night, they can book their meetings then as well. That may be a gentler vision to present to your team if you're working on convincing them to move to automated booking than their client on toilet. Just saying. But that's what we're working towards. So keep in mind that our goal is threefold. One, to reduce the administrative time spent to schedule appointments. I have seen this be as high as 2 hours for each meeting scheduled, not just putting it on the calendar, but the back and forth, adding temporary meetings, then managing them after 3 days. This also leads to extended times to schedule. This is also not scalable, and we want our firms to be able to scale at a moment's notice. If you're doing that system where you're sending a client three available times and you're blocking them off on the calendar and you're managing that after 3 days and you're doing all of this back and forth, you may think that is easier for your client, but it's costing you so much that that tiny little bit of ease that may be there for your client is not worth it at all. And so really being able to look at that and go, hey, there's an easier way to do that. And honestly, most people now are very accustomed to scheduling things online. So the only stumbling block to your scaling should be the available time in a day, not the scheduling of that time. So a the second thing our goal is a smooth and modern client experience. We're looking to empower clients to be able to put an appointment on the calendar for when they're ready and not wait for when we're ready, and improve communication with your clients. Giving them the ability to schedule on their own changes the tone of the conversation. It empowers them a little more. So let's dive right in the stages to improve your scheduling. Phase one is the initial setup. So I want to point out that this phase needs to be done with any scheduling software. This is not Lawmatics specific. I'm going to show you stuff in Lawmatics because we're specifically showcasing that. Um, but anytime you're doing any kind of scheduling software in any platform, including Calendly, like these things need to be set up and thought through. So one is we're going to start by centralizing the visibility. And we're going to do that by on each person's individual exchange. I'm sorry, individual login, they need to set up their calendar. So this is my test system. And in calendar, you will go through and link your calendar. And I think it's Chronify that Lawmatics uses to verify all this stuff. So here's some basic things, and this is not just Lawmatics, but across most of the scheduling platforms, these are kind of pretty much standard. Your working hours. When are you available? And you set your general overall working times in there. And then in Lawmatics, you want your sync type. So you always want this to be a two-way sync. This does not sync your calendar events from your external calendar to Lawmatics, but it allows the update. You can put a lunch hour in, you can put a time before in, you can put a buffer time in there. And your rolling period, this is how far in the future they can be booked. So you can limit that for things. You can do a start interval. How often are they starting? You want this to be just every 30 minutes, so you can't book on the 15. And then we have individual appointment availability. So you can go down to a particular appointment and you can say, I only want to do these at these dates and times. Like, I don't want to go any more than that. And I don't want more than 4 a day for this type of appointment for consultation. And I want 30 minutes between each of my initial consultations. And I want them to start on the 30-minute. And they can't schedule less than 4 days ahead. That gives them time to complete their forms and do their stuff and all of that. So we can set specifics for the actual appointment that you're doing. Even if you're not doing all the way external booking, it is a good idea to set this up and be able to use this internally. So it is very good practice to set this up no matter what. Anyway. Okay. So I really want to emphasize those sync settings that each person and salesperson has their individual control of those. Like you can set your own time blocks, your own appointment controls, and you can do that. You also do not need to go in there if you need to set a day off. That's not where you do it because once you have it synced into your calendar, you have the ability to just mark a day off or mark, appointment, a dentist appointment, whatever else, put that on your calendar. That doesn't show up as availability. It makes a lot easier to try to control your own time in there. And if you need 15 minutes between meetings to take notes or grab coffee or whatever, the system ensures that no one can book that time. So we're eliminating the double booking. That is the goal of that. So once your sync is live and you can do all that stuff, then you can move to your internal scheduling by availability. So this simplifies being able to schedule for your intake team. And what that looks like is this. So here's your intake form. We're going through. You're talking to someone. Do they want to schedule? If that is a yes, this one actually asks about the consultation fee. And then we go to schedule that consultation. It'll pull up the days and times. So they're not going to the calendar, looking at different calendars, looking at everything. And one thing I want to say here is that even if you have multiple attorneys, there is very different ways to schedule. You can take next available. You can do all of those types of things to get them in there quickly. But this is talking primarily about doing that internally. So when we're doing that internally, it really helps your intake team. They don't need to go look at four different calendars to find a gap where they can put somebody in. Um, it only shows them the available times. So the intake team uses this to book it while they're on the call, right on the form, and they show up instantly on your main Exchange or Google Calendar, and there's zero lag time. So the moment the appointment's booked, the time is blocked for everyone else. So there's no, I'm going to finish this up and then I'm going to go do something else. And then, oh, now somebody's accidentally double booked. So this really does help with that. Um, and I lost my next part. So phase 4 of this addresses your middle funnel, allowing consultation to schedule from, sorry, I skipped 3. 3 moves us out of the office and into our workshops or seminars. So we're moving away from paper sign-up sheets or collecting sheets that you need to manually look through the next day to know who to call to schedule. Instead, we're using a QR code bridge between that. Putting a QR code on a slide, a sign, a table, a handout, you allow prospects to scan it and open a mobile-friendly Lawmatics form. And let me start by showing you what the QR code looks like. It can be just this. Pretty that up a little bit, but it's just a main QR code. And that QR code then takes them to this page, which is a schedule your consultation. Thank you for attending. We offer free, they put their information in and then they go, oh, I want an in-person, and it'll show them the time. And they schedule right from there. Quick and easy, no calling people over and over to be able to get their information and get them scheduled. It taps into the psychology of the now. We're allowing them to book it before they even leave the room and not need to wait on you to do that for them. By the time they get to their car, they have a calendar invite waiting for them. They have the link to fill out their information form. They have all of that already done. If they don't book and think about it at breakfast the next morning, they can book before you ever get to the office to call them for an appointment. So it really allows to speed up that and allow them to schedule whenever. Now let's go to phase 4. So phase 4 is kind of like the middle funnel. It is allowing consultation scheduling from a follow-up email after intake, a workshop, canceled meeting, whatever. That's from an email. And it works the same as we just showed you, except instead of having a QR code that you're giving to someone or you're posting somewhere, this is going into follow-up emails. This allows your follow-ups to move very quickly. Instead of saying in a follow-up, call us to schedule your appointment. Now, if somebody gets home from work and they're sitting there reading through their emails and they have a follow-up email from you and they're like, yep, I need to book that. They don't need to make a note to call you the next day during business hours or to call and leave you a message for you to try to call them back during business hours. They can just go on and book it. And now it's just taken care of. It's right then. And it also helps with like the complex meetings, like design and sign sessions, getting those on the books when they have all that, if that's not done right away when they sign. So we're using specific emailed templates for those touch points. You're not opening it up. You're not going, hey, everywhere, you're doing this very controlled. These are people that you have contacted, that have contacted you, that you are in that relationship with, that you're sending them a link and allowing them to book. And that is kind of that middle funnel area. Instead of their usual, when you're free email thread, we send them the booking link. They pick a time that works for them and the confirmation's instant. It so reduces that chasing that down and ensures that once a client's engaged, they stay on the path to the finish line without your administrative bottlenecks that fall into your office and the inability to get those scheduled. So then that takes us to phase 5, the gold standard, your website intake, your digital front door. This is either an exciting prospect for a firm or a scary one. Sometimes it's both at the same time. And sometimes, one part of the firm wants to do this. They want their potential clients to be able to schedule their consultation from the website, and other parts worrying about all the potential things that can go wrong with that. That's normal. Those are normal feelings. But really, when we're talking about this, we're using a guided screening process. We use a simplified form with logic to determine that if the lead is a grade A fit for the firm. If they qualify, they're prompted to pay the consultation fee immediately through LM Pay. The calendar is only presented once they're screened. And I'm going to show you very basic form that does all of this for you. So this is like a web scheduling form, and this is very, very basic, remember? So it comes in, it asks them for their information, and then what can we help you with? Now, in this case, I'm showing a estate planning law firm, and somebody picks divorce. It comes up and says, we don't handle this type of case. However, we do have recommendations for area attorneys that we trust. Feel free to submit this request to us, and we'll forward those recommendations to you. Thank you for your interest in our firm. Very simple. They can submit it. If they submit it, it gets tracked in your Lawmatics. Now, I don't have the marketing tracking on here, but if this is a form that they're accessing through one of your marketings that are linked, which John talked about before, then this all gets tracked in there and you know where those people came from. So this can really help when they've asked for something that you don't do to be able, and you know that, and that's why we're tracking that. But it doesn't require anyone in your firm to do anything and anything to happen in your firm. They submit this form. They have chosen divorce. We don't do that. The system and the automation will automatically put them into some sort of lost part, referred out, that these people came in and we referred them out, and it will email that information to them and take care of all of that for you. You'll be able to see it, you'll have the visibility for it, but it just doesn't even, you get all the benefit of getting that information to use to improve your marketing without anybody in the firm doing anything, not even a second. Okay. It does it all for you. Now, what if they contact you about something they do want to do? Okay. Yes. They want to do estate planning for myself or a family member. We can absolutely help you with this. Our consultation fee is $150 an hour for an hour meeting for one of our attorneys. Would you like to book a consultation? Yes, they would. So which type would you like? Well, we want an in-person. And then here's the available dates and times. They click it. They choose when they want to meet. That's fine. They go to the next page. Here is their thing to make a payment. They make that payment. You'll receive a confirmation of your consultation, a receipt of your payment. Consultation. The confirmation will also include a link to fill out our client information form. Please complete this 3 days prior to your scheduled consultation. We look forward to meeting you and assisting you. Not a single person in your firm has done 1 second worth of work, and you have collected the payment, you've scheduled the meeting, you've sent them the form, and everything is ready. And really, no one needs to do anything other than, you probably want somebody to check on that. Although, if you're using a Lawmatics form for that or a Decision Vault form, that can automatically be checking and following up with them to make sure they have that back to you 3 days before. So all of that can happen automatically. And really the only thing that needs to happen before this is whoever's meeting with that person needs to review the information. And the form has, because you can add more questions to that form, obviously, but that form has already weeded out your not ideal clients, and it has allowed them to book that meeting, done all of that for you. And that is kind of the gold standard of where this is at. That is our goal, ideally, for a firm. So let's just recap that result. The client screened, they're booked, they paid. Nobody did anything. If they want something that you don't do, that referral's been handled seamlessly. Nobody's spent a second on it. And that's the ultimate finish line for automating your scheduling. But you don't need to jump there. That's not the place you start. You start and go through the steps to get there. What that does is that really helps when you have fears in your firm and when you start mentioning online scheduling, they get really nervous about it. They're like, I don't want that to be out there. Um, you can make that intake form that's on a website so it's really difficult for someone to come in and that doesn't qualify or whatever. They would need to lie a bunch of places through that firm to be able to get into your scheduling. um so that is the walkthrough and how to get a custom and be able to put your digital front door out there. So even though it's scary sometimes, the impact of it's clear. First, we've addressed staff efficiency. We're reclaiming dozens of hours previously spent on phone tag. Second is client satisfaction. We're providing a modern signature client experience that feels professional from minute one. And finally, the improved communication. There's no longer an email that says, call us to schedule an appointment. It can now say, click here to schedule an appointment. And that keeps that communication going. If somebody says, hey, I want to talk to you, so that reminds me of a video I saw of a prank call, and this woman was calling her different family members, and she would call them, and as soon as they'd answer, she goes, hey, I'm busy right now. Can I call you back? Which is hilarious, but that's kind of what we're doing because we're sending emails and text messages to these people and going, hey, I'm communicating with you, but I'm not going to communicate with you right now. You need to call me back. Like, what? So that's kind of what we're doing. So we want to actually make that so that's a little more interactive and it changes the tone and the feeling of that communication. And this system also it creates a reputation firewall. So it ensures that no high quality lead ever falls through that cracks again. Somebody's ready to go. They're ready to go. They can get it on their calendar. They don't need to remember to call you the next day. They can do it from their toilet if they want, at 11:30 at night or over their breakfast. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be in the office for this to happen. And that really is our goal in all of this, is saving time and improving the client experience. John, do you have thoughts? And I'm sure you do. You're muted.
Yeah, I do have some thoughts. Before I read those real quick,
Mhm.
will you pull up our website and give proof of concept on our booking page of how much we believe in it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is something we do is we practice what we preach. If we're telling
Right.
you to just that something is great, it's only because we're doing it too.
Right. So
There it
we go
is.
here. This is to schedule a call with me. It will ask you all of your information, name of the law firm, the time zone you're in. This is important to us because how did you hear about us? This gets our marketing in there. So that's in there. What do you primary database? What type of law? What's going on? Anything else you want to tell us? And then you book it right here. And that's it. It's that simple. Once you book, it sends you another form, an intake form that asks more questions about your firm and things like that, so that the first 10 minutes of the discovery call isn't spent asking you questions and getting to know your firm. Get most of that stuff ahead of time. That is also emailed to me before that meeting. So all of that stuff takes place. There's text reminders, there's email reminders for that. Like all of that takes place. And I don't do anything. I don't need to do anything. I do because when I get notified of a discovery call, I go in there and look at the information. Um, but in reality, I wouldn't need to do that. I get the form sent to me 10 minutes before with all the information you've provided. Not a single person has touched anything. But it's there and available and all of that.
Yeah, and back, click the schedule button, and this is on the far right.
Mhm.
This is how simple it can be.
Yep.
And you can walk it through real quick, Beth, of how simple
Yeah.
it is.
So here's our discovery call. Here's a let's chat for John or I. So you can jump on there and schedule let's chat with us. This is for our current clients and things like that where it's not part of our process and all that laid out. And then our networking. So this is other professionals that want to work with us and or any of our partners that are referral partners that we work for, they can hop on here and just schedule a call and give us information about their company and schedule a partnership meeting. It is that simple and it should be that simple. Because if you make it more complicated than that, people are going to click the link and go, there's 15,000 questions. I'm not doing that right now. And they'll walk away from it. So it does need to be simplified, client facing simplified. It can be really complicated in the back, but the client facing should be very simplified and easy to do.
Yeah, and click up above, Beth. And this is what we mean by simplified. Everything should guide to it. So click the little Lawmatics authority, or one of those little
Right
buttons.
here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. See, it does that. And then see, I'm guiding them back. So now book your discovery. I don't want them
Yep.
to get lost. So I highlighted it. Everything should be client focused. It should take them right where you clicked.
Right.
So they don't have to dig around.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, all right,
And
here's
here,
my, oh, go ahead.
this works a whole lot better than just a contact us form. So, contact us, somebody needs to evaluate that. Somebody needs to make a decision on that. They need to get back to that person. They may need to ask questions internally. Like there's a whole lot that goes around that contact us form, where if you have a form that directs them and a website that directs them to the form and the form that directs them to information, it can take so much off of your team and allow them to work with people who they should be working with and being able to get all of that stuff, get them in and booked.
Yeah. All right, here's my quick thoughts. So the law firm world has changed. People are fast and want instant gratification. If they can't schedule something when they want on your calendar when they're ready, they will go to someone else who has that. It's at the top of their mind and they want to get that ball rolling. Even if it's to schedule your intake call, that's fine because everybody thinks I don't want people scheduling consultations. That's fine. Let them book something. And I'm not talking about fill out this form to request an appointment. That is not instant gratification. Beth, I really like on your slide deck that it said automated scheduling at the peak of interest. I thought that was just exactly what this completely encapsulates. Um, Beth talked about the logic to guide them through a scheduling form that takes them through. If you use Calendly, I just wanted to use some different language. They call that routing. So if you're in Calendly or something and using routing, that's what this is. It's just a conditional form that guides them to an end screen that's scheduling or referring out or whatever you've told it to do based on questions. Um, I am going to say, if you are using Lawmatics, don't use another platform. Because it's really what's going to drive all your automations and the time-saving tools that the engine has built in right to Lawmatics. Um, and using the form for internal scheduling, like Beth showed on the intake form, even if you're sitting at your desk scheduling for somebody on the phone, you do it through a form because that's what's going to fire the proper automations because different selections are going to fire different automations, even if it's just scheduling. There may be an option that says I'm in Utah and you're in New York. Then there might be an automation that says if they're in Utah, they need a whole different set of information or it's a refer out. So that's why I use a form because it's going to ask you the questions to send the proper information, not just generic information. And that's really what gives you the personalized experience that you can give to the client. Even if you're not ready to allow online scheduling from your website, I encourage you to always have a scheduling link in follow-up emails and texts. If they read a follow-up and it hits home that they're ready to schedule, reduce the barrier of entry by allowing them to schedule right there in the email or text. This is even more true after they attend a workshop to schedule a consultation. If you're just edging your way slowly into online booking, the first thing you should do is in all of your follow-up emails, have a scheduling link. That's a nice way to kind of dip your toes in the water, and let them just schedule without going full blown on your website if you're not quite ready yet. Um, and Beth kind of talked about scheduling on a form, but you can go so far as sending them forms with multiple appointments to schedule. So if they sign a contract for estate planning, you want to schedule their design and sign meeting, but they don't have their calendar, you can send them a form that has the design and sign on there and the instructions of when to schedule them. And by allowing them to do them at the same time, they're going to schedule them both. They're not going to forget the other email or something like that. But it can be on the same form. And now your project is laid out because the appointments, which are your deadlines, are now on the calendar. So now you have a full project roadmap for them to get through, let's say, their estate planning or whatever that might be. And with all of this, I do want to highlight that this is 100% boosting your client or your signature client experience that you pride yourself in. Some people say, no, that's taking away the personal touch. It's not. Um, they can call, but they can also schedule something online. You've removed all the barriers now. That's what you always want to do. This is not removing your guardrails of who can come in, but it's removing their barriers of entry. And then the last thing is the biggest fear and hurdle that we hear from firms not doing online scheduling is that they're going to lose control of their calendar. And Beth kind of touched on this. But it's not true. You have actually better control because you've locked in your criteria that Beth showed you. And now your team, who tends to just pop appointments wherever they want, by using a form that you've put the guardrails in for your appointments, they're locked into that now, as well as potential clients scheduling online. So it's actually more accurate than somebody doing just popping stuff on the calendar. And popping stuff on the calendar is also, we find this a lot. You put time for drafting or review or something, and somebody's on the phone and somebody's panicking. And so you're like, I'm just going to pop it over the review time. And then this starts happening more and more, and that becomes your culture. And then double bookings start, work starts falling through the cracks, things like that. This keeps everything lined up. And that's why it boosts your client experience, because what you need to do is mapped out on your calendar to allow time for everything to get done. And that won't be disrupted without permission. So those are my thoughts, Beth.
Absolutely.
All right. Are we ready to go to open Q&A?
I think we are.
All right. So before we go to open Q&A and wrap up, I just want to give a quick note for anyone watching on YouTube. We always stop the recording and then open it up for the live question and answer. This part isn't recorded, so people can ask real questions and talk through real situations. If you want to be a part of that conversation, we do this live every Friday at noon Eastern. It's free, and the link to join is right in the description, and we would love to see you here.